She needed a fake boyfriend for just 5 minutes. He said yes without hesitation, but neither of them knew that one small lie was about to turn their entire world upside down. Before we start, drop a comment and tell us which city you're watching from and rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The Chicago skyline glittered like a jewelry box scattered across velvet as Sophia Bennett stepped onto the rooftop terrace of London House. The September breeze carried the scent of expensive perfume and ambition, mixing with the aroma of craft cocktails being passed around by servers in crisp white shirts. Below, Michigan Avenue buzzed with Friday night energy, but up here, 22 stories above the city, the corporate world played a different game. Sophia tugged at the hem of her emerald cocktail dress, the one she'd splurged on at a boutique in Lincoln Park, telling herself it was an investment in her career. 6 months at Thompson & Associates, and this was her first invitation to the quarterly networking mixer. Her best friend Rachel had practically squealed when Sophia told her, insisting it meant management was finally noticing her marketing reports. "You've got this," Sophia whispered to herself, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing server. The bubbles tickled her nose as she took a nervous sip, surveying the crowd of Chicago's corporate elite, mingling against the backdrop of the illuminated Wrigley building. That's when she saw him. Derek Harrison stood near the glass railing, his arm wrapped possessively around a statuesque blonde in a dress that probably cost more than Sophia's rent. His laugh, that same arrogant laugh she'd heard for 2 years before finally breaking free, cut through the ambient jazz music like a knife. Sophia's champagne nearly slipped from her fingers. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Derek wasn't supposed to be here. He worked in finance, somewhere in the loop. This was a marketing and tech crowd. What were the odds? Derek's eyes scanned the terrace, and Sophia knew, with the terrible certainty of someone who'd dated a narcissist, that he was looking for an audience. Looking for her. She spun around, nearly colliding with a server, and found herself face to face with a broad chest, covered in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. Her champagne sloshed, and a few drops landed on perfectly polished Italian leather shoes. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." Sophia looked up and forgot how to breathe. The man before her had the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Strong jawline, warm hazel eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners, and dark hair styled with just enough casualness to seem effortless. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with an athletic build that suggested he actually used his gym membership, unlike most corporate types. "No harm done?" he said, his voice a smooth baritone with a hint of amusement. "Though I should warn you, these shoes cost more than—" "I need you to be my boyfriend." The words tumbled out of Sophia's mouth before her brain could stop them. The man blinked. "Excuse me?" Sophia grabbed his arm, her fingers pressing into expensive fabric. Over his shoulder, she could see Derek moving through the crowd, the blonde trailing behind him like a yacht's wake. They were heading this direction. "Please," Sophia whispered urgently, her brown eyes wide with panic. "Just for 5 minutes. My ex is here with his new girlfriend, and I absolutely cannot let him think I've been pathetically single since we broke up. Please, I will owe you forever." The stranger's eyebrows rose, but something flickered in his expression. Curiosity, maybe, or perhaps just the kind of reckless spontaneity that came from too many corporate events. A slow smile spread across his face, transforming him from merely handsome to absolutely devastating. "What's my name?" he asked. "What? If I'm your boyfriend, I should probably have a name." Sophia's mind raced. James. No, wait. Michael. Anderson. Michael Anderson," he repeated, testing it out. His smile widened. "And how long have we been dating, darling?" The endearment sent an unexpected shiver down Sophia's spine. 3 months. We met at Millennium Park. You were jogging, I was taking photos of the bean, and our dogs got their leashes tangled. "I have a dog? A golden retriever named Biscuit," he laughed, a genuine warm sound that made her stomach do an odd flip. "Biscuit, of course. And what's your name, girlfriend of mine?" "Sophia. Sophia Bennett." "Well, Sophia Bennett," he said, sliding his arm around her waist with surprising naturalness. "I hope I'm convincing enough for this performance." The warmth of his hand seeped through the thin fabric of her dress. He smelled like cedar, and something citrusy. Expensive cologne that probably had a French name she couldn't pronounce. Sophia leaned into him, trying to look natural, trying not to notice how perfectly she fit against his side. Sophia? Sophia Bennett? Derek's voice made her muscles tense, but Michael, or whatever his real name was, must have felt it because his grip tightened reassuringly. She turned, painting on her brightest smile. Derek, what a surprise. Derek's eyes swept over her, then lingered on Michael with barely concealed appraisal, and something that might have been jealousy. The blonde beside him looked bored, examining her manicured nails. "I didn't know you'd be here," Derek said, his tone suggesting he'd expected her to be home alone, watching Netflix with a pint of ice cream. "Are you working for one of the vendors?" The subtle dig wasn't lost on Sophia, but before she could respond, Michael extended his free hand. "Michael Anderson," he said smoothly. "And you are?" "Derek Harrison. Sophia and I we knew each other." Derek's handshake was aggressive, a dominance display Sophia remembered all too well. "I'm with Sterling Financial, Vice President of Acquisitions." "Impressive," Michael said with exactly the right amount of disinterest. "I'm in tech. Rather boring stuff, really. Sophia's work is far more interesting. Her campaign analytics are revolutionary." Sophia nearly choked on her champagne. She'd never described her work as revolutionary to anyone, let alone a stranger she'd conscripted into fake dating service 30 seconds ago. Derek's expression soured. "So how did you two meet?" "Millennium Park," Sophia and Michael said in unison, and the synchronicity of it made them both smile. A genuine moment that felt almost real. "Our dogs got tangled up," Sophia continued, relaxing slightly as Michael's thumb traced small circles on her hip. "Biscuit is such a troublemaker." "Biscuit?" Derek's lip curled. "You named your dog Biscuit?" "He named his dog Biscuit," Michael corrected, his voice taking on a slight edge. "And he's a very good boy who happens to have excellent taste in the women his owner should approach in public parks." The blonde giggled, then tried to cover it with a cough. Derek's jaw clenched. "How long have you been together?" he asked. 3 months, Sophia said. "Best 3 months of my life, actually." "Really?" Derek's eyes narrowed. "Because 3 months ago you told me you weren't ready for a relationship, that you needed to focus on your career." The accusation hung in the air between them. Sophia felt her cheeks flush, but Michael's hand moved from her hip to the small of her back, steadying her. "Maybe she just wasn't ready for a relationship with you," Michael said quietly, but with a steel underneath that made Derek take a step back. "Sometimes we meet the wrong person at the right time, or the right person at the wrong time. Sophia and we met at exactly the right moment." He looked down at her, and for a second, just a second, Sophia forgot this was fake. His eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch, made her forget about Derek entirely. "That's sweet," the blonde said, speaking for the first time. Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "Derek, I need another drink." As they walked away, Derek shot one last look over his shoulder, not at Sophia but at Michael, sizing him up like a competitor he'd underestimated. Sophia waited until they disappeared into the crowd before exhaling shakily. "Oh my God! Oh my God! I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe you just did that. That was..." "Insane," Michael supplied, but he was grinning. "I was going to say amazing, but insane works too." Sophia laughed, slightly hysterical. "Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. I'm sorry for ambushing you with my drama, and I'm sorry about your shoes. The shoes will survive." He was still holding her, she realized. Neither of them had moved apart. "Though I have to say that was the most interesting party conversation I've had in months. Years, maybe. Well, I owe you big time. Can I buy you a drink? It's the least I can do after forcing you to pretend to be Michael Anderson, dog owner and tech guy." Something flickered across his face, amusement mixed with something else she couldn't quite read. "Actually, I should probably..." "Sophia!" a familiar voice called out. Rachel Chen, her colleague and closest friend at Thompson & Associates, appeared beside them, slightly breathless. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for..." She stopped, eyes widening as she took in Michael. Her face went pale. "Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were..." Sophia's world tilted on its axis. "Mr. Thompson, not Michael Anderson, not some random tech guy. She looked up at the man whose arm was still around her waist and watched as understanding and horror crashed over her in equal waves. "You're," she whispered. "Alexander Thompson," he said softly, almost apologetically. "CEO of Thompson and Associates, but my friends call me Alex." He paused, his eyes twinkling despite her obvious mortification. "And apparently, my girlfriend calls me Michael." The champagne glass slipped from Sophia's fingers, shattering on the terrace floor in a spray of glass and bubbles that seemed to echo her imploding dignity. Rachel's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Somewhere in the background, someone laughed. The Chicago wind picked up, carrying with it the scent of coming rain, and Sophia's complete and utter humiliation. Alex, Alexander Thompson, her boss's boss's boss, smiled down at her with what appeared to be genuine entertainment. "So," he said casually, as if she hadn't just recruited the CEO of her company into a fake relationship at a networking event, "about that drink you mentioned." Sophia wanted the rooftop to open up and swallow her whole. Instead, she did the only thing she could think of. She turned and ran, dodging through the crowd of Chicago's elite, leaving behind her dignity, one broken champagne flute, and the most mortifying moment of her entire 26 years of life. Behind her, she could hear Rachel's panicked apologies and Alex's warm laugh following her into the night. It was going to be a very long Monday. Sophia had spent the entire weekend in her Lincoln Park apartment, alternating between replaying Friday night in excruciating detail and researching how difficult it was to change careers at 26. Rachel had called 17 times. Sophia had answered 0 of them. By Sunday night, she'd convinced herself that maybe, just maybe, Alexander Thompson wouldn't remember her. CEOs dealt with hundreds of employees. He probably attended dozens of networking events. One mortifying encounter with a desperate marketing analyst wouldn't stick in his mind. This delusion lasted exactly until 9:47 Monday morning. Sophia sat at her desk on the 14th floor of the Thompson and Associates building on West Wacker Drive, staring at her computer screen without seeing it. The office hummed with the usual Monday energy, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, the coffee maker in the break room gurgling its third pot of the morning. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Lake Michigan stretched out like a sheet of hammered silver under the autumn sun. "You can't avoid me forever," Rachel said, appearing beside Sophia's cubicle with 2 cups of coffee from the Starbucks downstairs. She wore a burgundy blazer that meant business. "I brought a peace offering." Sophia accepted the coffee without making eye contact. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm avoiding the entire top floor of this building." "Sophia, it's not that bad. I recruited our CEO into a fake relationship to make my ex-boyfriend jealous." Sophia's voice came out as a strangled whisper. "At a company event, I grabbed Alexander Thompson, and asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend. His name isn't even Michael." "Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds worse." "Because it is worse." Sophia dropped her head onto her desk with a soft thunk. "I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired and have to move back to Indiana and work at my dad's hardware store, and everyone will ask, 'Whatever happened to Sophia?' And my mom will say, 'Oh, she sexually harassed her CEO and got blacklisted from corporate America.' First of all, you didn't sexually harass anyone. Second, you're spiraling. And third," Rachel leaned in conspiratorially, "he was laughing when you ran away, not angry laughing, genuinely amused laughing." "That's worse. Now I'm the office joke." "Or," Rachel said carefully, "you're the girl who made the notoriously serious Alexander Thompson laugh at a networking event. Do you know how rare that is? The man is gorgeous, but he's basically a robot at corporate functions." Before Sophia could respond, the office intercom crackled to life. Patricia Holloway, the stern VP of marketing, spoke in her usual no-nonsense tone. "All marketing staff, conference room A in 10 minutes, mandatory meeting." Sophia's blood turned to ice. "Oh God, this is it. This is where I get fired in front of everyone." "Don't be dramatic. Patricia calls meetings all the time." "On Monday mornings without warning?" Sophia was already catastrophizing. "They're going to make an example of me. There will probably be a PowerPoint about professional boundaries." Rachel pulled her to her feet. "Come on, whatever happens, I've got your back." The conference room was already filling up when they arrived. Sophia slid into a seat near the back, hoping to become invisible among the 20-something marketing professionals. The room overlooked the Chicago River, where a tour boat drifted past, full of tourists who definitely weren't about to lose their jobs for fake dating their boss. Patricia Holloway stood at the front, tablet in hand, looking like she'd been born in a power suit. Thank you all for coming on short notice. We have a special guest this morning to discuss the upcoming Thompson Foundation Charity Gala. Sophia's palms began to sweat. The door opened. Alexander Thompson walked in, and the room's energy shifted immediately. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than Sophia's car, his dark hair perfectly styled, his presence commanding without effort. Every eye in the room tracked his movement as he crossed to stand beside Patricia. Sophia wanted to dissolve into her chair. She stared at her notepad as if it contained the secrets of the universe, willing herself to become wallpaper. "Good morning," Alex said, his voice carrying easily through the room. "I know Monday mornings are rough, so I'll keep this brief. The Thompson Foundation Gala is in 3 weeks at the Field Museum. This year's theme is Building Chicago's Future, and we're expecting over 500 attendees, including major donors, city officials, and media coverage." He clicked to the next slide, which showed the Field Museum's stunning Stanley Field Hall, where Sue the T-Rex skeleton stood guard. Sophia had visited once on a school trip. She'd never imagined she'd be planning an event there, or that discussing it would make her want to crawl under a table. "We need the marketing team's best work on this," Alex continued. "Social media campaigns, press releases, donor engagement strategies. Patricia will be leading the charge, but I wanted to personally emphasize how important this event is for our company's community outreach." His eyes scanned the room, moving from face to face, professional, distant. Nothing like the warm, amused man who'd played her fake boyfriend 3 days ago. Then his gaze landed on Sophia. She saw the recognition flicker across his face. A slight quirk of his lips, a brief flash of something that might have been humor or memory. Her cheeks flamed red. She looked down at her notepad so fast she nearly gave herself whiplash. "I'll be personally involved in the planning," Alex said, still looking in her direction, "so you'll be seeing more of me around this floor over the next few weeks. I promise I don't bite." Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Sophia wanted to sink through the floor and emerge somewhere in the building's underground parking garage. Patricia took over, delegating assignments with military precision. "Chen, you're on social media strategy. Morrison, press releases. Bennett." Sophia's head snapped up. "You'll be coordinating the donor engagement campaign. I've reviewed your analytics from the Morrison account, and your demographic targeting was excellent. I want that same energy for the gala." Yes, of course. "Thank you." Sophia's voice came out steadier than she felt. "You'll be working directly with Mr. Thompson on donor communications," Patricia continued, checking her tablet. "He'll want weekly updates on your progress." The room tilted slightly. Sophia gripped the edge of the table. Alex's expression remained professionally neutral, but she could have sworn she saw amusement dancing in those hazel eyes. "I look forward to working with you, Miss Bennett." The way he said her name, formal, proper, but with the slightest emphasis that suggested he remembered exactly how it felt to call her darling, made her stomach flip. The meeting continued, but Sophia heard none of it. Her brain was too busy panicking. Weekly meetings with Alexander Thompson, the man she'd dragged into a fake relationship, the man she'd lied to about golden retrievers and Millennium Park meet-cutes, the man who was now her direct supervisor for the biggest project of her career. When Patricia finally dismissed them, Sophia bolted for the door, but Alex's voice stopped her. "Miss Bennett, a moment, please." The room emptied with uncomfortable speed, her colleagues practically running for the exits. Rachel shot her a look that was equal parts sympathy and morbid curiosity before disappearing. Sophia turned slowly, feeling like a student called to the principal's office. Alex stood by the windows, hands in his pockets, looking unfairly composed. The morning light caught in his hair, and she hated that even in her mortification she noticed how attractive he was. "Mr. Thompson, I am so incredibly sorry about Friday night." He held up a hand. "Before you apologize yourself into a panic attack, let me say something." Sophia closed her mouth, bracing for impact. "That was the most entertaining networking event I've attended in 5 years," Alex said, a genuine smile breaking across his face. "I usually spend those parties making small talk with people who want something from me. Instead, I got to be Michael Anderson, tech guy and owner of a golden retriever named Biscuit. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. He moved closer, leaning against the conference table with casual confidence. You have nothing to apologize for. You were in an uncomfortable situation with your ex, and I voluntarily chose to help. No harm done. I made you lie at a company event. I made myself lie at a company event, he corrected. And technically, I go to those parties incognito specifically to see how my employees act when they think I'm not watching. You just gave me a much more interesting cover story than usual. Sophia blinked. You go incognito? How else am I supposed to know what actually happens at corporate functions? Everyone's on their best behavior when the CEO is around. He tilted his head, studying her. But you were completely yourself. Panicked and desperate, yes, but authentic. Do you know how rare that is in this business? Most people don't ambush strangers into fake relationships. Exactly. His smile widened. It was refreshing. Sophia didn't know what to say to that. She'd spent 3 days convinced she'd destroyed her career, and here was Alexander Thompson telling her he'd been entertained. So I'm not fired, she managed. Fired? Sophia, may I call you Sophia? At her nod, he continued, You're one of Patricia's top analysts. Your Morrison campaign increased client engagement by 37%. Why would I fire you for having a creative solution to an ex-boyfriend problem? Because I involved you in my personal drama? My Friday nights are usually spent reading quarterly reports alone in my penthouse. Your drama was significantly more interesting. He paused, something shifting in his expression, though I am curious about one thing. What? That kiss. Sophia's heart stopped. She'd been trying very hard not to think about the kiss. After Derek and his girlfriend had walked away, Alex had leaned down and pressed his lips to her temple. A soft, brief touch that had felt startlingly intimate for a fake relationship. Her skin had tingled where he'd kissed her, and she'd frozen completely, forgetting how to breathe. What about it? She whispered. You looked terrified when I did it. I'm sorry if I overstepped. I thought it would sell the performance, but... No. The word came out too loud. Sophia lowered her voice. No, you didn't overstep. I was just surprised. It was very convincing. Good. Something in his tone made her look up, and their eyes met. The air in the conference room suddenly felt charged, electric. Because for what it's worth, Miss Bennett, if that relationship had been real, I would have counted myself a very lucky man. Before Sophia could process that statement, Alex straightened and became all business again. Weekly meetings, Thursdays at 2. My office, top floor. Don't be late. He moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Sophia, next time you need a fake boyfriend, I'm available. But maybe warn me first so I can come up with a better fake name. Michael Anderson is terribly boring. He left, and Sophia stood alone in the conference room, her heart racing, her mind reeling, and her career suddenly very, very complicated. Through the window, Chicago sparkled in the autumn sunshine, full of possibility and disaster in equal measure. Rachel appeared in the doorway like a ninja. So, what happened? Are you fired? Do I need to help you pack your desk? Sophia shook her head slowly. I think I might be in trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind where your fake boyfriend is your actual boss, and you can't stop thinking about the way he kissed your temple. Rachel's eyes went wide. Oh, that kind of trouble. Yeah, Sophia whispered, touching her temple, where she could still feel the ghost of his lips. That kind of trouble. Thursday arrived with the inevitability of a Chicago winter, cold, unforgiving, and impossible to avoid. Sophia had spent 3 days preparing for her meeting with Alex, creating spreadsheets, designing mock-ups, and rehearsing professional conversation starters that didn't include, sorry I made you my fake boyfriend. At 1:55 p.m., she stood in the elevator heading to the executive floor, clutching her tablet like a shield. The elevator walls were mirrored, and she caught glimpses of herself from multiple angles, grey pencil skirt, white blouse, navy blazer, professional, composed, definitely not thinking about the way Alex's hand had felt on her waist. The executive floor was everything the 14th floor wasn't, hushed, elegant, with artwork that probably cost more than her student loans. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Chicago, from the Navy Pier Ferris wheel to the distant Sears Tower. Sophia had only been up here once during her initial interview. Margaret, Alex's executive assistant, sat at a sleek desk outside his office. She was in her 50s, with silver hair cut in a sharp bob, and the kind of efficient demeanor that suggested she could run a small country if needed. "Miss Bennett," Margaret said warmly, "Mr. Thompson is expecting you. Go right in." Sophia knocked twice, heard a muffled, "Come in," and pushed open the door. Alex's office was stunning. One entire wall was windows overlooking Lake Michigan. The decor was modern but warm, dark wood, leather furniture, and subtle touches that suggested actual personality rather than an interior designer's vision. A vintage Cubs pennant hung in a frame beside his Harvard Business School diploma. A photo on his desk showed him with an older couple, his parents probably, at what looked like a ski resort. Alex stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing with his free hand. He held up one finger, indicating he'd be just a moment, and Sophia took the opportunity to study him without being obvious about it. He'd loosened his tie and rolled up his shirt sleeves, revealing forearms that suggested he didn't spend all his time behind a desk. There was something different about him up here, away from the performance of the networking event and the formality of the conference room. He seemed more real. "I understand that, Richard, but the timeline isn't negotiable," Alex said into the phone, his tone firm but not unkind. "We committed to the community center project, and I intend to honor that commitment. Find a way to make the numbers work." He paused, listening. "Good. Send me the revised budget by tomorrow." He ended the call and turned to Sophia with an apologetic smile. "Sorry about that. Board members think everything is negotiable. Please sit." Sophia settled into one of the chairs facing his desk, hyper-aware of every movement. Alex took the chair beside her rather than behind his desk, a subtle choice that made the conversation feel less like a boss-employee dynamic and more like a collaboration. "So," he said, leaning back and regarding her with those unsettling hazel eyes, "tell me about your donor engagement strategy." For the next 20 minutes, Sophia walked him through her plans. She designed a multi-tiered approach, personalized invitations for major donors, social media campaigns highlighting the foundation's work, video testimonials from previous grant recipients. She'd researched every attendee's giving history, their interests, their connections to Chicago. Alex listened intently, occasionally asking questions that revealed he'd already thought deeply about every angle. He wasn't just an attractive face who'd inherited a company. He genuinely cared about this gala, about the Foundation's mission. "This is excellent work," he said when she finished. "The personalization angle is exactly what we need. These donors get generic appeals constantly, making them feel seen, connecting them to specific projects. That's smart." Sophia felt a flush of pride. "Thank you. I looked at last year's data, and the highest donations came from people who'd visited the projects in person, so I thought we could create similar emotional connections through storytelling. See, this is why Patricia put you on this project." Alex pulled out his phone, scrolling through his calendar. "The Foundation is opening a new youth center in Pilsen next week. Would you want to attend the ribbon cutting? See the space, meet some of the kids? It might give you material for your campaign." "Really? Yes, absolutely. It's next Tuesday at 10. I'll send you the details." He set his phone down, and something in his expression shifted, became less CEO and more something else. "Sophia, can I ask you something? And this isn't your boss asking. This is just me being curious." Her stomach flipped. "Okay. That guy at the party, Derek. How long were you together?" The question caught her off guard. 2 years, why? Because he seemed like the kind of man who'd make a woman feel small. Alex's voice was careful, but his eyes were intense. "And you don't strike me as someone who should ever feel small." Sophia's throat tightened unexpectedly. In one sentence, Alex had seen something it had taken her months of therapy to understand. "He had a way of making everything a competition," she said quietly. "My job wasn't as important as his. My friends weren't as successful as his. My ambitions weren't as valid." She laughed, but it came out bitter. "Breaking up with him was the best decision I've made in years, even if seeing him with someone new felt like he'd won." "Exactly." Alex leaned forward, elbows on his knees, close enough that she could smell his cologne again, that cedar and citrus combination that had haunted her dreams. "For what it's worth, he looked at you the way men look at things they regret losing, and his new girlfriend spent the entire conversation looking bored." Despite herself, Sophia smiled. You notice that? I notice a lot of things. His gaze held hers for a moment too long to be purely professional. Like the fact that you've been avoiding looking directly at me for this entire meeting. Sophia's cheeks flamed. I'm not. You are. And I think I know why. He stood, moving to the windows, giving her space. What happened Friday night? It was unconventional, but it doesn't have to be weird. I don't want you walking on eggshells around me, Sophia. You're my boss. I dragged you into my personal drama. Of course it's weird. What if we made it less weird? She frowned. How? Alex turned to face her, and something in his expression made her heart rate accelerate. He looked like a man about to make a business proposition, or possibly jump off a cliff. What if we kept doing it? He said. Sophia blinked. Kept doing what? The fake relationship. He said it casually, as if he were suggesting they grab coffee. Think about it. You need to show your ex that you've moved on. Really moved on. And He paused, running a hand through his hair, in a gesture that seemed almost vulnerable. I could use a buffer at corporate events. A buffer? Do you know how many people try to set me up at these functions? Board members with daughters, clients with sisters, investors with... He waved a hand vaguely. It's exhausting. And it's always transactional. They see the CEO, not the person. But I know you're the CEO now. Yes, but you grabbed my arm and begged me to be your boyfriend before you knew that. You saw me as just some guy. Do you know how rare that is for me? He moved closer, his expression earnest. I'm not explaining this well. Let me try again. He took a breath, and Sophia realized he was actually nervous. I need a date for the gala, Alex said, and for about 6 other events between now and Christmas. Corporate fundraisers, client dinners, the Thompson family Thanksgiving, which is its own circle of hell, but that's another story. Usually I go alone or with whatever colleague needs FaceTime with donors. But this year, I'd like to bring someone who makes these events less soul-crushing. And you think I'm that person? I know you are. You made a rooftop networking party interesting, Sophia. Do you have any idea what an achievement that is? Despite the absurdity of the situation, Sophia felt laughter bubbling up. Let me get this straight. You want me to be your fake girlfriend for the entire holiday season? In exchange, I'll mentor you. Career guidance, introductions to the right people, recommendation letters when you're ready to move up. I saw your resume when Patricia hired you. You have an MBA from Northwestern. You're overqualified for your current position. I can help you climb faster. It was a good offer. A great offer, actually. The kind of career opportunity people fought for. So why did it make her chest ache slightly? What are the rules, she asked. Rules? For the fake relationship? Are we setting boundaries? What do we tell people? How do we... What's the end game? Alex considered this. We tell people we're dating casually. Nothing serious yet, just seeing where it goes. That way there's no pressure for grand romantic gestures. We attend events together, present a united front, and you get to make your ex jealous, while I get to avoid my mother's matchmaking attempts. Win-win. And when it ends, we'll figure that out when we get there. Maybe we'll have a mutual, amicable breakup after New Year's. Maybe we'll just quietly stop mentioning it. He sat back down beside her, and his expression softened. I'm not trying to trap you, Sophia. If you're uncomfortable with any of this, just say no. I'll still mentor you. This project doesn't depend on you agreeing. She should say no. It was insane. Fake dating her boss for 3 months. That was a romantic comedy plot, not real life. But she thought about Derek's smug face, about the way Alex had made her feel seen and valued in the span of a 5-minute conversation, about the career opportunities he was offering, about how maybe, just maybe, this didn't have to be complicated. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll do it. Alex's face lit up with a smile that transformed him from handsome to absolutely breathtaking. Really? Really? But I have one condition. Name it. We're honest with each other. About everything. If this gets weird or uncomfortable, we talk about it. Deal? He extended his hand. Deal. Sophia shook his hand, and the contact sent electricity up her arm. His grip was firm, warm, and lasted just a moment longer than professionally necessary. So, she said, trying to sound casual, when's our first official fake date? The youth center opening next Tuesday. It's perfect. Low pressure, meaningful cause, and I can introduce you to the foundation board as my girlfriend. He grinned. Plus, you'll actually enjoy it. The kids are amazing. Sounds good. Sophia stood, gathering her tablet. I should get back to work. I have donor profiles to finish. Sophia? Alex stopped her at the door. Thank you for saying yes and for being brave enough to grab a stranger at a party and ask for help. That took courage. Or desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. His smile was gentle. I'll see you Tuesday. And Sophia, try to relax around me. We're going to be spending a lot of time together. I'd like us to be friends. Friends. Right. She could do friends. Even if his smile made her stomach do backflips. Even if the memory of his lips on her temple kept her awake at night. Even if this fake relationship was already starting to feel dangerously real. Friends, she agreed, and left before he could see the flush creeping up her neck. In the elevator, she caught her reflection in the mirrors again. Same outfit, same person, but somehow everything had changed. She'd just agreed to fake date Alexander Thompson. Rachel was going to lose her mind. Tuesday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn weather that made Chicago feel like a postcard. Sophia stood outside the new Pilsen Youth Center, watching her breath create small clouds in the October air. The building was a converted warehouse, its brick facade freshly cleaned, with colorful murals already beginning to bloom across one wall, local artists working with the neighborhood kids. She'd changed her outfit 4 times that morning, finally settling on dark jeans, ankle boots, and a camel-colored sweater that Rachel had declared approachable but put together. This was supposed to be casual, not a formal event, but it was also her first public appearance as Alex's girlfriend, fake girlfriend, and she wanted to get it right. A sleek black Tesla pulled up to the curb, and Alex emerged from the driver's side. He wore jeans, actual jeans, and a grey Henley under a black jacket. Sophia had only ever seen him in suits. The casual look made him seem younger, more accessible, and unfortunately even more attractive. "Good morning," he said, his smile warm and genuine. "Ready to meet some future leaders of Chicago?" "Ready as I'll ever be." She gestured to the building. "This place is beautiful. How long has the foundation been working on it?" 2 years of planning, 8 months of construction. It's got a computer lab, art studios, a full gym, and a commercial kitchen for culinary programs. Pride colored his voice as they walked toward the entrance. This neighborhood has incredible talent. They just needed resources and someone who believed in them. Inside, the center buzzed with energy. Kids ranging from elementary to high school age explored the new spaces, their excitement palpable. Volunteers set up equipment, and a small crowd of adults, board members, donors, local officials, mingled near a makeshift stage where a ribbon-cutting ceremony would take place. A woman in her 60s approached them, her silver hair swept into an elegant bun. She wore a purple pantsuit and the kind of jewelry that suggested old Chicago money. "Alexander, darling." She kissed both his cheeks in the European style. "Right on time, as always." "And who is this lovely young woman?" "Catherine, this is Sophia Bennett. Sophia Catherine Morrison. She's on the foundation board and was instrumental in making this center happen." "Oh?" Catherine's eyes sharpened with interest. "Bennett, you're handling the gala donor engagement, aren't you? Patricia sent me your preliminary strategy. Very impressive. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. I'm excited to be working on such an important event. Please, call me Catherine." She looked between Sophia and Alex, clearly noting how close they stood, how his hand had naturally found the small of Sophia's back. "So, is this a professional visit, or—" Alex's expression remained perfectly composed, but Sophia could feel the slight tension in his fingers against her spine. This was it, the moment they made it official. "Actually," Alex said, his voice taking on a warmth that seemed almost too genuine to be fake, "Sophia and I have been seeing each other for a few months. I wanted her to see what the foundation does firsthand. She has great instincts for storytelling, and I thought experiencing the center might help with the gala campaign." Catherine's face lit up with delight. "Alexander Thompson, dating? Stop the presses. Your mother will be thrilled. She's been worried about you." "My mother worries about everything," Alex said dryly. "It's her hobby." "Well, Sophia, welcome to the circus." Catherine patted her arm conspiratorially. Fair warning, dating a Thompson means dealing with Chicago society gossip, intrusive questions, and a mother who will start planning your wedding after the second date. Sophia laughed, though the comment sent a small flutter of panic through her chest. I'll keep that in mind. As Catherine moved away to greet other guests, Alex leaned in close enough that Sophia could smell his cologne. You okay? I know throwing you to Catherine Morrison is like throwing someone to a very elegant shark. I'm fine, she seems nice. She is, but she's also the biggest gossip on the board. By tonight, everyone in our social circle will know we're dating. He studied her face. Last chance to back out. Sophia met his eyes, seeing genuine concern there alongside something else. Hope, maybe, or anticipation. I'm not backing out, though you could have warned me your mother was apparently waiting to plan our wedding. To be fair, she'd plan my wedding to anyone at this point. I'm 29 and single. In her mind, I might as well be ancient. The horror, Sophia teased, and was rewarded with one of his genuine smiles, the kind that made crinkles appear at the corners of his eyes. Mr. Thompson. A teenage girl with bright pink streaks in her dark hair bounded up to them, practically vibrating with excitement. You have to see the art studio. It's amazing. We have actual professional easels and everything. Vanessa, this is great to hear. Alex's entire demeanor shifted, becoming softer, more open. How's your portfolio coming along? Still planning to apply to the Art Institute? Yes, and I'm working on my application essay. Miss Rodriguez has been helping me. Vanessa suddenly seemed to notice Sophia. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your date or whatever. You're not interrupting, Sophia assured her. I'd love to see the art studio too, if that's okay. Vanessa's face brightened. Really? Okay, come on. She led them through the building, keeping up a steady stream of chatter about the programs, the other kids, her dreams of becoming a muralist. Alex listened attentively, asking questions that showed he'd been following her progress. This wasn't just a CEO doing PR. He genuinely cared about these kids. The art studio was spectacular, natural light pouring through skylights, walls already covered with student work, supplies organized in rainbow order. Vanessa showed them her latest piece, a vibrant portrait of her grandmother rendered in bold, confident strokes. Vanessa, this is incredible, Sophia said, genuinely impressed. The way you've captured the emotion in her expression, that's not easy to do. You know about art? I minored in visual communications, not the same as being an artist, but I spent a lot of time studying composition and color theory. Vanessa's eyes lit up, and for the next 10 minutes she and Sophia discussed technique, while Alex watched with an expression Sophia couldn't quite read, something warm and pleased and maybe a little surprised. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was simple but moving. A local councilwoman spoke about community investment. Catherine Morrison talked about the Foundation's mission. Then Alex took the stage, and Sophia saw yet another side of him. He didn't use notes. He talked about his grandfather, who'd started Thompson and Associates with a loan from a neighbor who believed in him, about how that neighbor's faith had changed his family's trajectory, about how this center represented the same kind of investment in potential over-pedigree. These kids don't need saviors, Alex said, his voice carrying across the crowd. They need resources and respect. They need adults who see their talent and help them develop it. That's what this center is, a place where dreams get workspace. The kids cheered. Sophia felt an unexpected lump in her throat. This was why he'd started the foundation, not for tax breaks or good PR, but because he genuinely believed in paying forward the chance his grandfather had been given. After the ceremony, as they mingled with donors and community members, Sophia found herself relaxing into the role. Alex kept her close, his hand occasionally brushing hers, introducing her warmly but without excessive fanfare. They fell into an easy rhythm. She'd chat with the wives while he talked business, then they'd regroup and compare notes. You're good at this, Catherine Morrison observed, when they were getting coffee from the refreshment table. Most of Alexander's dates look like deer in headlights at these events. Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. Most of his dates? Oh, don't worry, dear. There haven't been many. Alexander is notoriously selective, but the few times he's brought someone to a foundation event, they usually spend the whole time checking their phones or looking bored. Catherine smiled approvingly. You actually seem interested. And you're good with the kids. I saw you talking with Vanessa. That girl doesn't warm up to people easily. She's incredibly talented. She should definitely apply to the Art Institute. She will, now that Alex has been encouraging her. He has a way of making these kids believe in themselves. Catherine's expression softened. He's a good man, Sophia. One of the best. I hope you're serious about him. The weight of the statement settled over Sophia like a blanket. Catherine wasn't just making small talk. She was assessing whether Sophia was good enough for someone she clearly cared about. I think he's pretty remarkable, Sophia said honestly, because even if the relationship was fake, her admiration for Alex was entirely real. Catherine patted her hand. Good answer. Now let's talk about your gala strategy. I have some thoughts about the video testimonials. By the time the event wound down, Sophia's feet hurt, and her face ached from smiling, but she felt energized rather than drained. Alex walked her to her car, a somewhat battered Honda Civic that looked comically out of place next to his Tesla. So, he said, leaning against her car in a way that should have been illegal in its casual attractiveness, how was your first official outing as my girlfriend? Surprisingly not terrible, Sophia admitted, though Catherine Morrison basically gave me the "what are your intentions with my pseudo-son" speech. Alex groaned. She did not. She did. And she mentioned you've brought dates to events before who seemed bored. Ah, yes. There were a few attempts at dating over the years. They didn't take. He studied his shoes, suddenly less confident. Most people were more interested in dating Alexander Thompson, CEO, than just Alex. That must be lonely. He looked up, surprised by her directness. It is. That's why this arrangement, he gestured between them, works. You're here because we made a deal, not because you're trying to climb a social ladder or get access to my bank account. Though the mentorship is basically career ladder climbing, Sophia pointed out. That's different. You're talented enough to climb on your own. I'm just helping you skip some rungs. He smiled. Besides, I'm getting something out of this too. Did you notice how many people tried to set me up with their daughters before I introduced you? 0, that's got to be a record, Sophia laughed, happy to be your relationship shield. You're more than that. The words came out softer than seemed necessary, and something in Alex's expression made Sophia's breath catch. You were great today. With Vanessa, with Catherine, with everyone. You weren't performing, you genuinely cared, that's rare. So are CEOs who remember teenage girls' portfolio deadlines, Sophia countered. They stood there for a moment, something unspoken hanging between them. The October sun slanted across the street, painting everything gold. Somewhere nearby, kids laughed and shouted, their voices carrying the joy of the new center. I should go, Sophia said finally, not quite wanting to. Right, yes. Alex stepped back, giving her space. Same time next Thursday for our check-in meeting. I'll be there. And Sophia. He caught her hand briefly, his thumb brushing across her knuckles. Thank you for today. For making it feel less like work and more like, I don't know, something real. He let go and walked to his car before she could respond, leaving Sophia standing beside her Honda with her hand tingling and her heart doing complicated things in her chest. As she drove home through Chicago streets, past the colorful brick buildings of Pilsen and back toward Lincoln Park, she couldn't shake Catherine Morrison's words. I hope you're serious about him. The problem was, Sophia was beginning to worry she might be. And that wasn't part of the deal at all. 3 weeks had passed since the youth center opening, and Sophia's life had become a beautiful, terrifying blur. She'd attended 2 client dinners with Alex, a charity auction at the Museum of Contemporary Art, and a surprisingly fun afternoon walking through Millennium Park, where they'd actually talked, really talked, about everything from their childhoods to their favorite pizza places. His Lou Malnati's, hers Pequod's, an ongoing debate. The gala was 3 days away, and Sophia was running on caffeine and determination. She sat in Alex's office for their Thursday meeting, reviewing final details while he answered emails on his laptop. The video testimonials are ready, she said, making notes on her tablet. I got approval from all 5 families, and the editing team did an incredible job. There wasn't a dry eye in Patricia's office when we did the preview. I can't wait to see them. Alex looked up, and something in his expression made her pause. He'd been quieter than usual today, distracted. Sophia, can I ask you something personal? Her stomach flipped. Sure. Have you seen Derek again since the rooftop party? The question surprised her. No, why? Because he's on the gala guest list. Alex turned his laptop to show her. He's attending as the +1 of Amanda Westbrook. She's a major donor. I wanted to give you advance warning. Sophia's chest tightened. Amanda Westbrook, the blonde from the rooftop. Of course, Derek had upgraded to someone with money and connections. That was so perfectly Derek. I'll be fine, she said, more confidently than she felt. I have you as my fake boyfriend, remember? Very convincing fake boyfriend who makes excellent speeches about community investment. Alex's smile was warm, but didn't quite reach his eyes. About that. About us being fake. His phone rang, the screen showing Mother in bold letters. Alex grimaced. I should take this. I've been avoiding her calls all week, and if I don't answer soon, she'll show up at my apartment. He answered. Hi, Mom. Yes, I'm fine. No, I haven't forgotten about Thanksgiving. He paused, listening, and his expression shifted to alarm. Wait, you did what? Sophia pretended to focus on her tablet while shamelessly eavesdropping. Mum, you can't just invite Sophia to Thanksgiving without asking me first, Alex said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Because it's complicated. We've only been dating a few months. Another pause. Yes, I know you like her. Catherine told you about her. Multiple times, I'm sure. He met Sophia's eyes, his expression apologetic. Can I call you back? I'm in a meeting. He hung up and dropped his head into his hands. I am so sorry. My mother has taken our relationship as a personal victory and has apparently decided Thanksgiving is the perfect time for you to meet the entire Thompson clan. The entire clan? Parents, 2 sisters, brother-in-law, 3 nephews, and my grandmother, who will absolutely interrogate you about your intentions. He looked genuinely distressed. You don't have to do this. Thanksgiving wasn't part of our deal. I'll tell her we have other plans. Alex, Sophia surprised herself by reaching across the desk to touch his hand. It's okay. I don't have plans for Thanksgiving anyway. My parents are doing a cruise this year, and Rachel's going to her family in California. You'd spend Thanksgiving with my insane family instead of having a peaceful day alone? Your family can't be that bad. My mother will ask when we're getting married. My grandmother will want to know your genealogy. My sister Emily will probably pull you aside and warn you about all my flaws. He squeezed her hand, not letting go. But if you're serious about coming, I'd really like you there. And not because of our arrangement, because Thanksgiving with my family is actually bearable when there's someone there who doesn't treat me like the CEO or the family success story or the disappointment who isn't married yet. The vulnerability in his voice made Sophia's heart ache. Then I'll be there. Someone needs to defend you against the marriage questions. You're sure? I'm sure, she smiled. Besides, I'm curious to meet the woman who raised someone who remembers teenage artists' application deadlines. Before Alex could respond, his office door burst open. Margaret would never have allowed it, which meant whoever had just entered had enough status to bypass his assistant entirely. A woman swept into the office like she owned it. She was stunning, early 30s with auburn hair styled in perfect waves, wearing a cream designer dress that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly rent. Her green eyes took in the scene with predatory interest, lingering on where Sophia's hand still rested on Alex's. Alexander, she purred, her voice honey-sweet with an undertone of steel. I heard you were seeing someone, but I had to see it for myself. Alex's entire body went rigid. He stood slowly, his hand slipping away from Sophia's, his expression shuttering into something cold and professional. Victoria. What are you doing here? Victoria. Sophia's brain scrambled to place the name, then remembered Rachel's gossip from weeks ago. Victoria Ashford, Alex's ex-fiancée, the woman he'd been engaged to 3 years ago before calling it off months before the wedding. I'm in Chicago for business, Victoria said, moving around the desk with the confidence of someone who'd been in this office before. I thought I'd stop by and see how you're doing. It's been too long. Not long enough, Alex muttered, but Victoria either didn't hear or chose to ignore it, her attention fixed on Sophia with laser focus. And you must be the girl Catherine Morrison has been raving about. Sophie, is it? Sophia, she corrected, standing to meet Victoria's assessing gaze. Up close, the woman was even more intimidating, perfectly polished in a way that made Sophia feel young and underdressed. Sophia, of course, how lovely. Victoria's smile was sharp. Catherine mentioned you work here. In marketing, was it? How convenient that you and Alexander found each other. The implication was clear. Sophia was a gold digger who'd targeted her boss. Actually, we met before Sophia knew who I was, Alex said coldly, moving to stand beside Sophia. Not that it's any of your business. Oh, I'm just making conversation. Victoria perched on the edge of Alex's desk, completely at ease. You know how people talk, Alexander. Young employee dating the CEO. It does invite certain assumptions. The only assumption people should make is that it's none of their concern. Alex's voice had taken on a dangerous edge Sophia had never heard before. Still so defensive. That hasn't changed. Victoria's laugh was practiced, musical. But you're right, of course. Your personal life is your own. I'm sure this relationship is perfectly genuine and has nothing to do with career advancement or social climbing. Sophia felt anger override intimidation. You know what? You're absolutely right. Dating Alex has been incredibly convenient. He's smart, kind, genuinely cares about making Chicago a better place, and treats everyone with respect, which is more than I can say for people who barge into offices making accusations about strangers. Victoria's eyes widened slightly, clearly unused to being challenged. And yes, I work here, Sophia continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I worked hard to get this job, and I work hard to keep it. If people want to make assumptions about my relationship with Alex, that's their problem, not mine. I know the truth, he knows the truth, and frankly, that's all that matters. A beat of silence filled the office. Then Alex laughed, a genuine, delighted sound that broke the tension. Sophia, you're magnificent, he said, his eyes warm with admiration and something deeper. He turned to Victoria, his expression back to ice. I think you should go. Whatever you came here for, you're not going to find it. Victoria stood slowly, smoothing her dress. I came to see if you were happy, Alexander. Despite how we ended, I do care about you. If you cared about me, you wouldn't have cheated with my business partner. Alex's words were quiet but devastating. Or tried to leverage our relationship for shares in my company. Or shown up here to undermine my current girlfriend. Victoria's perfect composure cracked slightly. That's not fair. Actually, it's perfectly fair. Now leave, I have work to do. For a moment, Victoria looked like she might argue. Then her gaze flicked between Alex and Sophia, and something shifted in her expression. Recognition, maybe, or defeat. Fine, but Alex? She paused at the door. She's not like the others. Whatever this is, it looks real. Don't mess it up. She left, her heels clicking down the hallway. The silence she left behind was deafening. Sophia sank back into her chair, adrenaline making her hands shake slightly. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken to her like that. She's probably important or connected or... Stop! Alex knelt beside her chair, taking her trembling hands in his. You were perfect. Standing up to Victoria Ashford. People twice your age don't have that courage. She's vicious when she wants to be. She seemed to think we're fake. Sophia's laugh came out shaky, which is ironic, considering we actually are. Are we? The question hung between them. Alex was still holding her hands, his face close to hers, his eyes searching. Are we what? Sophia whispered. Fake. He said it so quietly she almost didn't hear. Because this doesn't feel fake to me anymore. The way I think about you constantly. The way Thursday meetings are the highlight of my week. The way seeing your name in my calendar makes me smile. That's not fake, Sophia. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Alex, I know this wasn't the plan. I know we had an agreement, professional boundaries, no real feelings, clean break after New Year's. But somewhere between pretending to date you and actually spending time with you, I stopped pretending. He brought one of her hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. I'm falling for you. Real, actual, complicated feelings. And I needed you to know that before the gala, before Thanksgiving, before we go any further with this arrangement. Sophia couldn't breathe. She should pull away, remind him this was supposed to be fake, protect her heart. But she couldn't, because the truth was staring her in the face. She'd stopped pretending too. I think, she said carefully, her voice barely above a whisper, that I might be falling for you too. The smile that broke across Alex's face was like sunrise, slow, warm, inevitable. He stood, pulling her up with him, his hands framing her face with devastating gentleness. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "A real kiss, not for show, not for your ex or my board members, just because I want to." Sophia nodded, unable to form words. Alex kissed her softly, carefully, like she was something precious. His lips were warm, and he tasted like coffee and possibility. It was nothing like the brief temple kiss at the rooftop party. This was real and terrifying and absolutely perfect. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers, both of them breathing hard. "So," he said, a smile in his voice, "I guess we're actually dating now." Sophia laughed, slightly giddy. "I guess we are." "Good." He kissed her again, longer this time, because pretending to be your boyfriend was exhausting. Being your actual boyfriend seems much simpler. Outside the windows, Chicago sparkled in the late afternoon sun. Somewhere below, the city moved on. Boats on the river, cars on Lakeshore Drive, people living their ordinary lives. But in Alex's office, nothing felt ordinary at all. Everything had just become beautifully, terrifyingly real. The Field Museum's Stanley Field Hall had been transformed into a wonderland. String lights draped across the soaring ceiling, casting a warm glow over the marble floors. Sue the T-Rex stood sentinel in her usual spot, now adorned with an elegant banner reading, "Building Chicago's Future." Round tables dressed in silver and blue filled the space, each centerpiece featuring miniature replicas of Chicago landmarks: the Bean, the Willis Tower, the Water Tower. Sophia stood at the entrance in a floor-length navy gown that Rachel had insisted she buy, her hair swept up in an elegant twist. Her heart hammered as guests began arriving, Chicago's elite, exactly the kind of people who used to make her feel small. But tonight was different. Tonight she wasn't just Sophia Bennett, nervous marketing analyst. She was the woman who'd planned this gala, who'd convinced major donors to increase their contributions, who'd created a campaign that Patricia had called exceptional. And she was Alexander Thompson's girlfriend, his real girlfriend. "You look stunning," Alex's voice came from behind her, warm and familiar. He looked devastating in his tuxedo, though she'd noticed he kept tugging at his bow tie, a nervous habit she found endearing. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she said, straightening his tie. "I hate these things," he admitted quietly. "The performance of it all. Everyone wanting something, everyone watching." "Then let's make it fun." Sophia took his hand. "We'll dance badly, make fun of the boring speeches, from a respectful distance, and actually enjoy the party we worked so hard to plan." Alex's expression softened. "How did I get so lucky? You let a desperate woman recruit you into a fake relationship at a networking event. Really, you brought this on yourself." He laughed, pulling her close for a quick kiss that was interrupted by a pointed cough. Catherine Morrison stood nearby, resplendent in emerald silk, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Save it for after the speeches, you two. Alexander, the board wants a word before things get started." The next hour passed in a blur of handshakes and small talk. Sophia worked the room with Alex, watching him shift seamlessly between CEO mode and the warmer, more genuine version of himself she'd come to know. When donors asked about the foundation's work, he spoke with passion. When they congratulated him on the relationship, he looked at Sophia with such obvious affection that she almost forgot they'd started as a pretense. Then she saw Derek. He stood near the bar with Amanda Westbrook, both of them dressed to impress. Amanda's gown probably cost more than Sophia's car, dripping with diamonds that caught the light. Derek's eyes scanned the room with that familiar predatory assessment, landing on Sophia and staying there. She felt Alex tense beside her. "Want me to go full fake boyfriend mode and kiss you dramatically?" he whispered. "Tempting, but let's try dignity first." She squeezed his hand. "Besides, he doesn't scare me anymore. Not when I have you." They made their way to their table, front and center, of course, where Rachel already sat with her date, looking like she might explode from excitement at being at the cool kids' table. "You did it," Rachel whispered when Sophia sat down. "This place looks incredible." Before Sophia could respond, Derek appeared at their table. "Sophia Anderson." He nodded at Alex, clearly having forgotten or never learned his real name. "Impressive event. I didn't realize you were involved in the planning." "I coordinated the entire donor engagement campaign," Sophia said evenly. "It's been an incredible project." Derek's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you two are still together?" "I have to admit I was surprised. You seemed so career-focused when we were dating. Turns out I was just focused on the wrong relationship, Sophia said. With the right person, you can have both career and love. Who knew? Alex's hand found hers under the table, his thumb tracing supportive circles on her palm. Derek's jaw tightened. Well, Amanda and I are very happy too. She's the VP of her family's investment firm. How wonderful, Alex said smoothly, standing and extending his hand to Sophia. If you'll excuse us, I believe they're about to start the program, and I promised Sophia the first dance. As they walked away, Derek's voice carried behind them. That's Alexander Thompson. The CEO Thompson. Alex glanced back with a satisfied smile, then led Sophia to the dance floor as a string quartet began playing. The lights dimmed, and suddenly they were surrounded by couples swaying to the music. Chicago's power players transformed into something almost romantic. That was satisfying, Sophia admitted as Alex pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other clasping hers. Watching Derek Harrison realize he lost an incredible woman to a guy who actually appreciates her. Very satisfying. Alex spun her gently. Though I should clarify, you didn't need me to prove your worth. You've always been extraordinary. Smooth talker, truth teller. He grew serious. Sophia, I meant what I said in my office. This isn't fake anymore. And after tonight, everyone's going to know we're together. My mother will start planning our wedding. The board will have opinions, Chicago society will gossip. Are you ready for that? Sophia looked up at him, at this man who remembered teenagers' dreams, who built youth centers in underserved neighborhoods, who'd stood by her through ex-boyfriends and manipulative ex-fiancés, who made her feel seen and valued and extraordinary. I'm ready, she said, as long as you promise me one thing. Anything. When this gets hard, and it will because workplace relationships are complicated, and your family is apparently intense and people will always have opinions, we talk about it. No shutting down, no pretending everything's fine. We're honest with each other. Deal. He kissed her forehead, her nose, finally her lips. Though I should warn you, my grandmother is going to love you, which means she'll start knitting baby booties approximately 5 minutes after meeting you at Thanksgiving. Baby booties? We haven't even had a second real date. I know, she's ambitious like that. They laughed and it felt easy, natural in a way Sophia had never experienced before. With Derek, everything had been a competition. With Alex, everything was a collaboration. The program began with speeches. Catherine Morrison talking about the Foundation's mission, a local teacher discussing the impact of the youth center, a teenager from Pilsen sharing how the Foundation's scholarship had changed her life. Then Alex took the stage, and Sophia watched him transform from her boyfriend into the leader Chicago needed. 3 years ago, my grandmother told me something that changed how I thought about success, Alex said, his voice carrying across the hall. She said, money makes you wealthy, but what you do with it makes you rich. Tonight we're choosing richness, investing in kids who will build a better Chicago, supporting programs that create opportunity, and proving that this city takes care of its own. The video testimonials Sophia had created played on screens throughout the hall. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. When the lights came back up, pledges poured in, doubling then tripling their fundraising goal. Patricia found Sophia during dessert, her usually stern expression softened by something that might have been pride. Bennett, excellent work. The board wants to talk to you about a senior analyst position. Interested? Sophia's heart soared. Absolutely. Good. We'll discuss details Monday. Patricia hesitated, then added, and for what it's worth, Thompson's been different since you two started dating. Happier. Don't screw it up. As the evening wound down, Alex and Sophia slipped away to one of the museum's quieter galleries. The dinosaur fossils loomed in the darkness, prehistoric giants frozen in time. Remember when I grabbed you at that rooftop party? Sophia asked, leaning against a display case. What were you thinking? Honestly, I was thinking this beautiful woman just asked me to be her boyfriend, and I should probably say yes before she changed her mind. He moved closer, boxing her in with his arms on either side of her. Then I was thinking I should probably tell her I was the CEO before things got complicated, and then I was thinking maybe complicated wasn't such a bad thing. It's definitely complicated now. The best things usually are. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, in a way that made her forget about galas and Chicago society and everything except the feeling of his lips on hers. When they finally broke apart, breathless and smiling, Sophia realized something fundamental had shifted. She'd come to that rooftop party looking for a way to prove to her ex that she'd moved on. Instead, she'd found something infinitely more valuable. A partner who challenged her, supported her, and made her want to be brave. "So," Alex said, his forehead resting against hers, "ready to face Thanksgiving with the Thompson clan? Fair warning, my sister will definitely interrogate you, my mother will probably cry, and my grandmother will ask invasive questions about our future. Bring it on. I survived Victoria Ashford and impressed Patricia Holloway in the same week. I can handle your family. That's my girl." He kissed her once more, soft and sweet. "Though I should mention my mother already bought you a Christmas present. She's very presumptuous." "It's October." "I know. Welcome to the family." They stood there in the darkness, surrounded by ancient bones and Chicago history, two people who'd started as a pretense and become something wonderfully real. Outside, the city sparkled, lights reflecting off Lake Michigan, the skyline sharp against the night sky. Somewhere in Lincoln Park, Sophia's apartment waited. Somewhere on the Gold Coast, Alex's penthouse stood empty. But right now, in this moment, they had each other, and that was more than enough. "Hey, Sophia," Alex said softly. "Yeah? Thank you for grabbing my arm that night, for asking me to be your fake boyfriend, for being brave enough to take a chance on a stranger." Sophia smiled, reaching up to cup his face. "Thank you for saying yes, and for being exactly the person I didn't know I needed." "Always," he promised. And as they left the museum, hand in hand, walking into the Chicago night with all its possibility and promise, Sophia knew she'd finally found what she'd been looking for all along. Not just a relationship, but a real partnership. Not just someone to make her ex jealous, but someone who made her believe in love again. Not just a fake boyfriend, but the real thing. And it was absolutely perfect.